Okay, this video is watch out for the narcissist online. So also along with dating, um, on these websites and on these dating sites, these dating apps, you'll have people who, I'll tell you a story. Um, So, out of curiosity, some people, even if they're not looking to get in a relationship with someone, sometimes they want to see what people are talking about, what they're saying. And, things change over time, what people's preferences are. And so I'm looking at this person's page, and it was a guy. So I was looking at his page, and, some people will share like photos of them, photos of like maybe where they traveled, maybe a few family members, or maybe a fun place that they've traveled to with a couple of friends and photos. But I ran across, and this is not the only person that I've ran across. I actually ran across somebody like that this morning who commented on one of my older videos. Relatively, like looked like he had a good head on his shoulders in the beginning. It looked as so. But then I go looking at, you look at the photos because they can look at photos of who you are, and photos, you can look at who they are. I kid you not. I look at the one photo, and then when you pan over to see other photos or scroll through to see other photos, I'm thinking, okay, this must be a mistake. And I keep flipping, 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 and I keep seeing only headshots of this one person, this one guy. And then I see a few shots that are, of him standing up. And but then I'm looking, I'm like, okay, are there photos of the person traveling? Are there photos of the person, with a couple of friends? All the photos, when I scroll through, I was like, wait a minute, this is unreal. I said, how many photos are there? It looked like it had been well over 150 photos, I kid you not, of just him. And it was like poses, like headshots and things like that. And then some of them were like just regular stand-up poses. And so it's the same thing. I saw that again. It was revisited this morning. So, it's this ego thing that some males have because they have a warped sense of thinking. And so um I've also seen that with females. I've seen that where, you'll see a picture of a female, and, I would actually more think it would be more females that would do that in a way, because there's so much pressure on women to look a particular way. And so some of that is to be expected. But when it's out of control, when like there's like 100 or 150, like I can understand if the person was a model and that's what they do, or if the person was in some kind of contest and that's what they do. But if it's just photos of them, they're not in a contest, they're just, really overly saturated with how they look, and they're overly confident. Narcissist, a person who has an excessive interest in or admiration of themselves. And so I have met some people, even, if I hadn't ever seen or scrolled through any photos of them, who have these personality traits. So narcissistic personalities disorder really does exist. And I believe some people don't realize that, but I've seen it happens a lot too with bodybuilders. Sometimes they get overly overly obsessed with their appearance to the point to where it can even be a danger to themselves, where they feel like they're, you know once they achieve a certain goal in appearance, they're still not happy with how they look. And so they have to do a lot of other things. And I've seen that even with people who aren't really bodybuilders, they get involved with plastic surgery, or they get involved with liposuctioning, constantly doing things over and over to maintain a certain youthful appearance because they're afraid of getting old. They're more concerned about what people feel that they should look like rather than how they feel within themselves. They don't feel right. They're never satisfied with their appearance. So they have to keep doing more and more and more to alter their self. And so, that's why you have some women who will change, and women have particularly a lot of pressure, especially when they're famous, because, the cameras are merciless when you start to age and women start to feel that feeling like, oh my gosh, there are new young ladies that look a lot better than me, and I'm not going to keep up with all of this. Narcissism is a pursuit of gratification from vanity or egotistic admiration of one's narcissist fell in love with his own image reflected in a pool of water. And so despite having image and thinking and behavior are other oriented in order to stay. I'm going to click on this, get through it. So you might hear some beeping noises. If you might hear some dogs, that's my neighbors. If you hear a few beeping noises, that might be time to change your what is it? Fire alarms or whatever. But anyway, I'm going to go on with this. Understanding the mind of a narcissist. So narcissists are not who they appear to be. They're both easy and hard to love. Okay. All right. And so a lot of times I see this in males, and it's an ego thing, and they put pressure on one another to be the man, to be strong, to be dominant. And so, they had this term called the simp. And it's supposed to describe a man who's simple. And if he's too into his mother, if he's too nice, if he's too loving, he's a wimp, he's a wuss, he's a simpleton. If he's like there with the kids and the woman and the wife, and they make it seem as though that the wife is more dominating and that the man has to be dominating. He has to run the woman and run her to the ground, basically. And that proves that he's a male, that he's an alpha male, and he's strong, and he calls the shots in the house, and he's supposed to be, it almost is borderline where, the male has to be like extremely misogynistic and abusive to the women, and he can't show any signs of weakness whatsoever. So that even would require him being dominant to the point to where it's abusive. And so I tried to recreate the term, but really it originated from guys who have an extreme inflated ego. And I think it comes from this whole concept of being narcissistic. Some people have narcissism that they pretty much had indoctrinated themselves with. And I believe that's the reason why some men think it's okay to sleep with a lot of women, because it's a notch on their belt. It means that they're the man, they're desirable. And so that's sort of in line with this whole narcissistic attitude. And so that's the reason why some guys feel like they have to be like that to prove that they're the man. So, and then some women will have this attitude where they feel like they're the diva. And so they'll have like a gang of model pictures, or there'll be something that they relish themselves at, and they feel like they're this alpha female, that they're on top of other females in terms of looks. And so that's why they have a hard time with aging, or when, life changes, or they get older, and then younger people, exist, and then they become older, and then they feel like they have to alter their appearance, or they have to change their body to keep up with the younger generation, because there's a fear of getting old or not looking attractive anymore. And so, despite having a seemingly strong personality, a narcissist lack a core self. Their self image and thinking and behavior are other oriented in order to stabilize and validate their self esteem and fragile, fragmented self. So, the gods sentenced Narcissus to a life without human love. Okay, so he fell in love with his own reflection in a pool of water and died hungering for its response. So, like narcissists only love themselves as reflected in the eyes of others. And so it's a common misconception that they love themselves and they may actually dislike themselves immensely. Their inflated self flattery, perfectionism, and arrogance are merely covers for the self loathing they don't admit, usually even to themselves. Instead, it's projected outward in their disdain for the and criticism of others. And so a lot of these people, they'll criticize others' flaws. When you have a person, they're not narcissistic and they're not obsessed with themselves to the point to where they have to alter their body appearance, or they're in the gym like a gym rat and they feel like they're not confident about themselves, even though they've achieved a goal, they've lost a number of pounds, or they've gained muscle, or they look really attractive, but to them, they really don't feel like it's enough. They have to do more, especially when they see someone else that they want to be like. And so they fear that that competition is going to be limited because of the fact that, oh, wow, I don't have what he has, or I don't look like how she looks. And so this is the kind of people that are online, y'all. So you have to be careful. Some of these men that are on these dating sites have that ego. Some of these women that are on these dating sites will have that ego. They feel like they have to, that they, are on their A game, so to speak, and that everybody needs to step up to them and, or bow down to them. And so their inflated self flattery, perfectionism, and arrogance are merely covers for the self loathing they don't admit. So, usually, even to themselves, instead, it's projected outward in their disdain and criticism for others. So, they're too afraid to look at themselves because they believe the truth would be devastating. So emotionally, they may be dead inside and hungering to be filled and validated by others. And sadly, they're unable to appreciate the love that they get, and they alienate those who give it. And so, of course, they have diagnosis and stuff like that for things like this: narcissistic personality disorder, which is NPD. Person must exhibit grandiosity, if only in fantasy, and lack the empathy as exhibited by the least 5 of the following traits. So there's traits and stuff. And so there's a diagnosis. So a lot of times these people they think they just look good, they're sexy, and they're desirable. And so that goes to people's head. They have there's people walking around with a head like a bubble. And, they don't think it'll ever be bursted. And, some of the things that's crazy is you're going to get old, you're going to age, things will change about you, life changes, things are not always the same, and the things that you do when you're in your 20s are not going to be the things you do when you're in your 40s and 50s. There may be some things that you'll be able to do, but given that hereditary traits, things in your family, there are going to be illnesses that you're going to inherit. There's going to be things that are going to change about your hair. And the more people change their appearance to look younger when they're aging, it looks goofy. Haven't you seen those men who they're getting gray or they're getting bald and they use spray paint to spray the tops of their head or spray certain things on their body? It looks goofy. You can tell it's spray. It just be who you are. It's more sillier spraying yourself with all that crap and risking blinding yourself and getting the stuff to melt in your eyes, especially when it's hot, rather than just being yourself. And then you'll see women who they've got breasts, they've got a butt that looks like it's not even real. You can tell it's not real. And these women are like, even if they're not older women, it's not their body parts. It's not their original body parts. And so it looks odd. It doesn't look sexy. It looks ridiculous. And so those are the things that they haven't really heard as criticism back towards them. They're been used to being criticized in a positive way because people, kind of inflate their egos. And so these guys are online. There's some females that are online like that, and they're not happy with themselves. But a lot of females will have extreme pressure because of the modeling, and then because of guys, because guys will put the pressure on them as well to look a particular way. And I noticed one particular thing is that women, when they start to age, and guys will want to go for younger women. And so that pressures women to try to alter their appearance even more, to try to look young, to try to stay on top of things. And then they can't understand why the guy doesn't want them. And you'll have some guys, they won't even look like anything. And they will try to get with young women, and the young women, they usually will use them for their money, or they'll try to find out if they have a pension or if they have like money or something like that. Some of the women I've heard done this. And then also beware, some people, when they start to get older, they try to have life insurance and policies and things like that. And so a lot of times these young women, they know. And so they're hoping that, if you're an older man and you're calling yourself a sugar daddy, they're hoping they can get in good with you so that maybe they can get something out of it, and these guys, sometimes they don't even care. They just want to have a trophy, and they want to look like, well, at least I'll die happy. You hear some of the crazy responses that some people will give you on those issues. And then you'll have women who they're obsessed with their body appearance, and they start to have this, which is a problem too, when you constantly have to go under the knife to change your face, to change your breast, to change your buttocks, to change something about your skin, lighten it, darken it, whatever it's sort of, I don't know if it's called something like morphism or something like that, where it's a problem where women, they're just not happy with how they look. I seen something where it was a documentary about, they have a lot of them, lovely documentaries that talk about stuff like this, where people are not happy with their looks, so they'll do a lot of things that are extreme. They've already went under the knife several times, and they keep doing it over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then some end up going to people, they're so desperate to change how they look, they end up getting botched surgeries. You should see that. That is crazy, because they can almost damn near kill themselves trying to look a particular way. A 50-year-old woman or a 60-year-old woman with 20-year-old boobs, it doesn't look cute. I'm sorry. And you've got wrinkles in your face. I'm just saying, what happened to the rest of you? It's because you're not supposed to look like that. It just doesn't make any sense. So this guy comes on my page this morning, so he has an issue with what I said in an older video. So I muted him, of course. Anytime you come on my page with some foolishness, I'm going to mute you, or I'm going to delete you, or I'm going to delete your comments, or I'm going to get rid of them. So, because I'm not going to fight with you. Anyway, so he comes on, and I just said, you know what? I know he looked at my stuff, so I'm going to look at his stuff. Nothing but photos of him, his body, how he looks. He is all sprung to the yin yang with how he looks. I didn't even want to scroll down, because it was like revisiting that same old dude where he had 150 photos and videos of nothing but how he looks. No friends, no going out, no going fishing with a couple of buddies, nothing. Just only a picture of them. And this guy is he might be a little over the top, because he's a bodybuilder. So I already know he's got an ego that's so inflated that he doesn't know what to do with himself. And so I already know what that life is like, because I used to do the bodybuilding. And that's exactly why I got out of doing it, because I saw for myself what some of those people go through. Some of them go through some unnecessary BS because they don't feel like that their body is good enough. These are people who, they might get to a place where they've met their goal. You met your target goal. that's not good enough for them. They have to outdo the next person because, it's really heavily judged on symmetry and how you look, your appearance, and all that. And so a lot of times those contests do put pressure on you. And then they like that everybody commenting you and telling you how sexy you look and all of that, or how strong you look, or how you'll get calls from just random people. Some of these people will join these contests, and they like having that limelight. And I think it's okay to do it if you really want to do it once in a blue moon. You wanted to do it because you want to just kind of like challenge yourself. But when you start getting into the mindset where you're worried about what other people think about you, um, something's wrong there. You got to stop yourself. I started almost getting like that, and I had to stop myself. And I told myself, this is not cool, because some of those people end up with injuries because they work out way too much. Then they alter their appearance way too often, and then that could have some damaging effects. Then they can also end up using drugs to try to enhance their appearance, which is steroids and a whole host of other shit that's out there. You can get it online. Sometimes you can go even as like in CVS and Rite Aid and buy stuff like a whole bunch of supplements and shit like that. And before you know it, you spent a whole bunch of money just on trying to improve how you look, and you already are where you need to be, but you're just not satisfied because it's gone to your head and you're obsessed with your looks, or you're obsessed with what you don't look like. You see somebody else and you're like, man, I wish I had that, or I look like that, or my arms could look like this. And then you get so obsessed and you're constantly trying to make yourself look, this optimal, being, almost like it's unreal, and you just never seem to get there. But then you put others down. You're good at that, putting others down. Some people are like that. Now, everybody isn't like that, but some people are. They're so obsessed that they think they're the bomb, pretty much. I don't know if you people heard that. They probably got some other stuff out, some other lingo out now, where when people are so self-absorbed to where they think they're the bomb, they're God's gift to women, or this woman thinks she's just Miss Diva. She's so sexy that every man wants her. She doesn't know that what she looks like in her 20s is not what she's going to look like when she gets 50, damn near 50, 60. Some of them might not even live to be that old because they're putting so much shit in their body. Who knows? But anyway, that's my video on that. You got to watch out for the egomaniacs that are online, because they're also on these dating sites, and they're like really like screwed up in the head, and they think they're the shit. Boy, I'm telling you, they could have any, they in their mind, they think they could have any woman they want. Even you got some guys who don't even look like nothing who have that kind of ego. Where that came from, I don't know. But I guess it's because it's locker room talk, and they've kind of pumped their own self up because they don't really feel confident. And so anyway, I'm going to go through this NPD thing. So number one, it says, has a grandiose self of self-importance and exaggerates achievements and talents. Number two, dreams of unlimited power, success, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. Number three, believes he or she is special and unique and can only be understood by other associates with other high, like special and high status people or institutions. Number four, requires excessive admiration. They love it when you tell them shit to fill their head up. Like there's a person that I know at work, she's really thin, but she's thin because she doesn't really eat. It's not because she works out really. She did work out, but it's not because she just works out. I think some of it could be like maybe hereditary, and then some of it could be just her. I think she has a fear of food. And so she might have an eating disorder. But what kills me is that you'll get other people who will gas her up, and if you don't know what gassing up, like blow her head up to make her think she's the shit. And so anybody that's heavier than her, she puts them down. She talks about, she fat shames people. And so she does this. There's a person that I know at work, and she's in a high position. teaching position rather. And so she likes to be gassed up. Oh, you're 50 something, 60, almost 60 something. You're so thin, you're so cute. And what bothers me about this is these are Black people, Black women that have done this, gassed her up. And what they don't realize is she's not that crazy about Black people. So I don't even know why they gas her up like that. She's not even crazy about them. As soon as they turn around, she talks about how fat those other people are, and all that kind of stuff. You know, some people are the way they are because of hereditary as well, or because they might have eating issues, or they could have health issues that are related to their metabolism, believe it or not. So number 5, I'm going to go on. It says unreasonably expects special favorable treatments or compliance with his or her wishes. 6, exploits and takes advantage of others to achieve personal ends. 7, lacks empathy for the feelings and needs of others. You got that right, because I've experienced that on the workplace on multiple occasions by not just the one person I mentioned, her too, but other people. So number 8, envies others or believes they're envious of him or her. So number 9, has an arrogant behavior and attitude. Yes, they do. It is extremely arrogant. So that's what you're dealing with online. When you can't date certain guys because they think that you're not good enough for them, a lot of it is because they're narcissistic, and they think that you're not good enough for them because they're the bomb, they're the shit. And then you'll have some females that'll do the same thing. They think they're a diva. They're just so sexy, and that they are just, oh, oh, you're just not good enough. You don't have enough money for me, the trophy ones, especially. So early beginnings, it's hard to empathize with narcissists, but they didn't choose to be that way. Their natural development was arrested, often due to a faulty early parenting. So some believe the cause lies extreme closeness and an indulgent mother, or others attribute it to parental harshness and criticalness. Although more research is required, twin studies revealed 64% correlation of narcissistic behavior suggested a genetic component is tied to it. And so, which I believe that could be true. Psychoanalyst Heinz Kohut observed that his narcissistic clients suffer from profound alienation, emptiness, and powerlessness, a lack of meaning. Beneath a narcissistic facade, they lack the sufficient internal structures to maintain cohesiveness, stability, and a positive self-image to provide a stable identity. Narcissists are uncertain of the boundaries between themselves and others, and I'm tongue tied, vacillate between dissociated states of self inflation and inferiority. The self divided by shame is made up of superior acting grandiose self and the inferior devalued self. When the devalued self is in the inferior position, shame manifests by idolizing others. When the individual is in the superior position, defending against shame and grandiose self aligns with the inner critic and devalues others through projection. So both this devaluation and idealization are commensurate with the severity of shame and associated depression. So although most people fluctuate in these positions, exhibitionistic, and closet narcissists are more or less static in their respective superior and inferior positions, irrespective of reality, making them pathological. Arrogance and contempt, envy, withdrawal, denial, repression, unconscious, aggression and rage, projection, blaming and accusing others of their own flaws or actions, self-pity, especially closet narcissists. So there's a such thing as closet narcissists. Oh, wow. And avoidance. Example, addictive behaviors, a common defense to shame. Narcissists Are also defend against shame and mentation by feeling special, though idealizing or identifying with special or important people. And so a relationship with a narcissist. So I'm not even going to go into that. So, but it does say many narcissists are perfectionists. Nothing that others do is right or appreciated. Isn't that the truth? At-home narcissists are totally different than other public personas. They may be privately uh, denigrate, and the person that they were just entertaining. So after an initial romance, they expect appreciation of their specialness and specific response through demands, criticisms, and other to manage their internal environment or protect against their high sensitivity to humiliation and shame and or shame. Relationships evolve around them and they experience their mates or as extensions of themselves. Ooh, relationships revolve around them. So their partners are expected to meet their endless needs for admiration, service, love, and purchases, and dismissed when they don't. That their spouse is ill, or if their spouse is ill or in pain, is inconsequential. So narcissists don't like to hear no and often expect others to. That's the sign of almost, people who are like borderline, where they're abusive, where they don't want to hear no. Like if you say, I don't want to do anything, romantic right now, but they don't want to hear no. Even people who violate women, they don't want to hear the word no. No to them is yes. And so they manipulate and get their way and punish, and punish or make partners feel guilty for turning them down. Trying to please a narcissist is thankless, like trying to fill the bottomless pit. They manage to find fault with your efforts and give backhanded compliments. Yeah, it's really jacked up. So, so that you always feel one down. So if they're momentarily pleased, they're soon disparaging or asking for more from you. And so they make their partners experience what it is like to having a cold, invasive, or unavailable narcissistic parent. And so Rice's vampire Lestat had just such as an emotionally empty mother who devotedly bonded with him to survive. And so the deprivation of real nurturing and lack of boundaries make narcissists dependent on others to feed their insatiable need for validation. And so, I feel like a lot of times they get off on people. It goes on and on and on. So you can read more about it. So it just goes on and on and on. Yeah, because narcissists are like, I've seen quite a bit of them on these websites where, if you see a guy and all the pictures are just him and you don't see him, he's not with friends, he's not out having a celebration, or you see very little of that, he's in the gym. All the pictures are gym pictures. All the pictures are sex pictures. All the pictures are pictures of his body parts, or of his body, or him working out, trying to look like the Hulk. Or if he's not even into that, all the pictures are about him, or he wants, it could be women with pictures about her, where, sometimes now if the woman is in some kind of profession where she, has to be a model or something, it depends though, because some of that is not good, because if she's like a stripper, or if she's like, into some kind of sex work, then that might be a whole nother ball game altogether. And, you got men that are sex workers, they won't tell you. You notice that it's always, you find out about the women strippers, but what about the male strippers and the men that are in sex work? They don't tell you. You notice you don't see that? You only see women that do stuff. You never see the men that are out there doing stuff. They have male strip clubs. They have men that are sex workers that are doing stuff, men that are doing pornos, and they are narcissists. They're into themselves. They want to see themselves They like being with different women. They can't be in one relationship. It's too much work for them. They like having all of the, all the notches on their belt and all the praise that they're the ladies' man. So some of these people have these characteristics and it's dangerous. But anyway, I'm going to let this video go. Now that's my dog barking. Anyway, I'm going to let this video go. So that's pretty much it. It's just, I don't even really trip too much off of people like that because I know there's idiots out there that are so full of themselves. Even people who don't even look that great. I've seen them be full of themselves. Like they got like maybe one or two attributes. They got like maybe like they're thin and that's it. But nothing else. Or maybe they have like a nice car. Cars get old, people get old, so, maybe they have a good position at a job. That doesn't mean they're the best worker there. That doesn't mean they got it honestly. That doesn't mean they treat other people right at the job. You know, that doesn't mean they have other issues, So anyway, with that, I'm going to leave it a go. But I just thought I would put that out there because there's some crazy people online. Beware of these people with these characteristics. They're like so full of themselves. They think they're the shit, and then I've even seen people who are younger. And I will say this, that I'm not, to some people, I look like I'm still in high school, but I'm not in high school. High school years are long over. And I'm actually at an age where I could be a grandmother, but I'm not, thank goodness. But the thing is that some people will like snigger and stuff and laugh and do little funny stuff because I don't get out and do the same thing that young people do. It's because I'm not your age. That's why I don't do that shit. I've been there and done that. But anyway, they think they're gonna look, it's funny looking at young people because I remember when I was that age, they think they're always gonna look thin. They're always gonna look youthful. And they're so silly because they're not always gonna look like that. They haven't experienced enough life experiences. And so they are gonna change over time. Life's gonna change for them. Some people do know, yeah, it's gonna happen at some point. But they're not thinking like that. They're thinking about now, their hopes, their dreams. Some of that is good, but some of that is bad, So anyway, I'm going to leave this video go, but there are a bunch of crazy people out there on these websites too, who are so full of themselves that they think they're so good that not even you can be their best partner. Nothing is good enough for them. Remember that. So it's not you. If you're wondering, if you try to get with these type of people and then you feel like, what did I do wrong? It's not you, it's them. Thanks for listening.